Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. At least 20 people were killed in an attack in the northern Gaza Strip last evening, according to Palestinian reports. The health authorities said Israeli troops had fired on people waiting at a roundabout. More than 150 other people were injured. The Palestinians said death toll in the Gaza Strip from ongoing Israeli attacks has risen to 31,341. Hamas has presented a Gaza ceasefire proposals to mediators and the United States that includes the release of Israeli hostages in exchange for freedom for Palestinian prisoners, 100 of whom are serving life sentences. Hamas said the initial release of Israelis would include women, children, elderly and ill hostages in return for the release of 700 to 1,000 Palestinians held in Israeli prisoners. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said yesterday the new Gaza truce proposal presented by Hamas to mediators was still based on unrealistic demands. His office said an updated on the issue would be handed to the War Cabinet and Extended Security Cabinet today. Australia will resume funding to the United Nations main Palestinian relief agency. Foreign Minister Penny Wong said today, almost 2 months after it paused ties over allegations some of the agency's employees participated in the October 7th attack. Australia had consulted with the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, and other donor countries and was satisfied with the additional safeguards put in place. Wong said at a news conference in Adelaide, Sweden, Canada, and the European Union have recently resumed funding UNRWA to some degree. Russia's defense ministry said today that its forces had thwarted the Ukrainian attempt to launch a cross-border attack on Russia's Belgorod region yesterday. In a statement, the ministry said that Ukraine had used helicopters to land up to 30 soldiers close to the border village of Kozinka. It said they were repelled by Russian soldiers and border guards. European Council President Charles Michel arrived at the Chancellor in Berlin today for talks with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. After their talks, Scholz was scheduled to host French President Emmanuel Macron and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk for a meeting of the so-called Weimar Triangle, which was organized in a bid to project European unity on support for Ukraine after weeks of friction between the allies. U.S. Special Operations Forces practiced airdrops with a brigade of South Korean commandos as part of efforts to deter the unexpected from North Korea. The drills were conducted from a U.S. Special Operations MC-130 aircraft on the last day of the Freedom Shield exercises that saw participation from an unprecedented number of member states from the U.S.-led United Nations Command. One U.S. Special Operations liaison soldier said it demonstrated that the allies can work together in a conflict, and South Korea is a good location to work with other allies. Back here in the Sultanate of Oman confirmed that it is making tireless efforts to reduce the challenges of climate change and encourages investment in sustainable agriculture to enhance the capabilities of human societies to adapt with climate change, and renewed its commitment to supporting all international efforts in this regard. This came in a speech by His Excellency Ambassador Idris bin Abdul Rahman Al Khanjari, permanent representative of the Sultanate of Oman to the United Nations and international organizations in Geneva before the interactive dialogue on climate change within the 55th session of the Human Rights Council. The Sultanate of Oman, represented by the Minister of Housing and Urban Planning, is taking part in the activities of the Global Urban Festival held in Cannes, France. The festival is participated by 6,500 investors and 300 international establishments and companies operating in the field of real estate development and marketing. The participants come from 90 countries. During its participation, the ministry aims to highlight several future projects that are geared towards establishing modern cities that are human-friendly and with a sustainable living standard. The ministry also aims to enhance the investments milieu in the housing and urban planning fields. Furthermore, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning participated in several discussion panels, which include international speakers in the fields of investments and the urban sector. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. At least 20 killed in attacks in Gaza, and Palestinians present a ceasefire proposal detailing exchange of hostages and prisoners. Russia thwarts a Ukrainian attempt to launch a cross-border attack on Russia's Belgorod region. And the Sultanate of Oman confirms making tireless efforts to reduce the challenges of climate change. And with that, we come to an end of tonight's news bulletin. May Allah bestow upon us wisdom, and may the spirit of Ramadan inspire individuals to cultivate personal growth, extend acts of kindness, and exemplify compassion in service to humanity. Ramadan Mubarak.